Imagine being the president's personal defense lawyer one morning and his nominee for a lifetime seat on the federal bench that same afternoon. Same client, same case, same handshake, and the president reportedly still owes your firm $400,000.
The man who's nominated you to a lifetime appointment as your client, he owes his PAC, owes you, is it $400,000? For legal bills?
That's the man sitting across from Senator Cory Booker. And Booker has one simple question that the nominee spends the entire hearing trying not to answer. Not about the law, about the money. Watch how the nominee retreats. It goes to my firm. It's a tiny amount. I don't handle that side of it.
Senator, I actually have no idea what the financial amount is.
But he has paid all his bills now?
Senator, I don't handle that aspect of the relationship, so I really couldn't confirm what you're saying.
And watch Booker close every exit one by one until he drops the line from New Jersey that lands like a punch. This president stiffs firms constantly. So does he owe you? And if he does, how can you ever judge him fairly?
So this president potentially owes your firm money. You have a financial stake in that. And he nominates you to the bench. Objectively, as an objective person, would that not raise questions to this committee? And shouldn't we ask you what your financial tie is to the President of the United States?
Then, just when the nominee thinks the worst is over, Booker reaches back 19 years to an old college article and asks a question that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with character. Let's get into it.
Senator Booker.
Thank you very much. Mr. Schwartz, the independence of the judiciary is vital. Sacrosanct, I would even say. And I have some concerns that right now, today, are you personally representing Donald Trump in his criminal appeal in New York?
I am, Senator.
And the man who's nominated you to a lifetime appointment as your client, he owes his PAC, owes you, is it $400,000? For legal bills?
Senator, I actually have no idea what the financial amount is.
But he has paid all his bills now?
Senator, I don't handle that aspect of the relationship. So I really couldn't confirm what you're saying.
So can you name, in all of American history, one federal appellate nominee, any time in modern history, who was actively representing the president who nominated him at the moment of his nomination? Can you name in any time in modern history that we've ever had a situation in our democracy where a president has nominated someone who is representing them? Can you?
So, Senator, start out, as I said earlier, if I am confirmed, I will recuse myself from all cases in which I've represented the president and be very cognizant of my duties. Second, Senator, sitting here, yes, there have been obviously 2 prior nominees in this administration who have been nominated. And then obviously presidents have from time to time nominated justices and judges with whom they are very close, they may have worked with previously. So it's not an unusual circumstance, Senator. And as I said, my oath of office will be sacrosanct, and I will recuse myself as appropriate.
So why not disclose any financial obligations this president might have to you? Don't you think that's germane to our evaluation of your objectivity if the President of the United States owes you $400,000?
So, Senator, any amount of money the president would pay would be to my firm, which is obviously a very large firm.
But isn't some of your, a lot of us were involved in firms, isn't some of your compensation based upon the clients that you represent? Yes or no? Is your compensation based upon the income your firm receives from the clients you represent? Yes or no?
Yes, Senator.
So you're telling me that this body of senators should not know about any financial obligations the president has to your firm and the actual pecuniary, the actual financial benefits that you stand to get from this case when that very president has nominated you. Can I ask you another question? Do you know, yes or no, does the president pay all of his legal bills to the firms that have represented him in the past? Yes or no? Do you know if he's been a good client in paying his bills?
Senator, I couldn't speak to other
It's
law
well
firms.
reported, and I'm from New Jersey, he stiffs firms constantly. So this president potentially owes your firm money, you have a financial stake in that, and he nominates you to the bench. Objectively, as a objective person, would that not raise questions to this committee? And shouldn't we ask you what your financial tie is to the President of the United States?
I'll be happy to clarify that, Senator. My firm has, I've been very fortunate. My firm has revenues of almost $2 billion a year. The amount that we take in or might take in from President Trump, I don't know how much that is, but it would be an extraordinarily small amount, even though it's obviously—
Sir, to you it's a small amount. To the average American,
No.
$400,000. If somebody has a stake in with the president to $400,000, a president that has personal lawyers all over his administration, we now see that in the Justice Department, we have his former personal lawyer that has allowed him to set up a slush fund that is paying out people that potentially could have attacked this Capitol. America is seeing right now that this president is turning out to be a grifter who uses his financial relationships to appoint people who have financial ties to them. And then from the people that are negotiating in the Middle East, financial ties to the president. The people in our Justice Department, financial ties to the president. Don't you think you should be more transparent with your financial ties to this president before we have to vote on you to confirm you?
So, Senator, if I'm confirmed, I will resign my partnership at Sullivan and Cromwell. I will make no money whatsoever going forward from any representation that the firm has.
But you have made money from the President of the United States in representing him now.
So, Senator, to be clear, the $400,000 that you mentioned, which obviously is a lot of money for the average American, goes to my firm. If there is profit at the end of the year in my firm, I receive a minuscule amount of that money.
Mr.
So,
Schwartz,
Senator,
you wrote, if I may finish, in your college magazine, long time ago, in 1997, titled Married in the Eyes of God, you argued against same-sex marriage and criticized the first same-sex wedding held in my state at Princeton Chapel between two university alumni. Do you still hold those views that you represented in that article back in 1997?
So, Senator, you're asking about personal and religious views. What I will say is the language that I used in that article was harsh, unacceptable, and reflected my views as a teenager.
So do you think it's germane for me to ask, if you wrote an article that said, I hate black people, do you think it's relevant for me to know your views today about your views on African Americans, on Italian Americans, on Catholic Americans, or gay Americans?
So, Senator, I think it's a fair question, and what I would say is throughout my adulthood, over the last 20, 30 years, and as a professional, I've always treated everybody equally and with respect, whether they are gay or straight. I have a tremendous amount of admiration and respect for
I think
my
your views
colleagues.
are germane to the job. I would like to ask the chairman right now, and thank you for the latitude, sir. We should know the fullness of his financial entanglements with the President of the United States of America. It is absolutely unconscionable that the Senate continues to confirm people that have financial entanglements with the president. That goes to their objectivity when it comes to issues regarding the President of the United States and his interests when it comes to separations of powers and more. And I'm hoping that my QFRs will be answered candidly and in detail. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. You folks are dismissed now. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your coming service.
The entire confrontation is built on a single fact so unusual that Booker barely has to editorialize. He just has to keep saying it out loud. The man seeking a lifetime appointment to the federal bench is, at this very moment, the personal lawyer defending Donald Trump in a criminal appeal in New York. The client and the boss who is handing out the job are the same person, in the same week, possibly in the same building. Booker opens not with anger, but with a principle every senator claims to revere, that the independence of the judiciary is sacrosanct, and then he sets that principle directly against the reality in front of him. When he asks whether the president owes the nominee's firm $400,000 in unpaid legal bills, he is not really asking for an accounting figure. He is asking a much larger question. How can a judge rule against a man who still signs his paychecks? And how can the public ever believe that ruling is clean? The heart of the exchange is the nominee's strategy of distance, and watching him deploy it is a clinic in how smart people deflect. He never denies the relationship. Instead, he separates himself from it piece by piece. He doesn't know the dollar amount. He doesn't handle that side of the relationship. The money goes to the firm, not to him. The firm pulls in nearly $2 billion a year, so whatever Trump pays is, in his words, an extraordinarily small amount. And if I am confirmed, I'll recuse myself from any case involving the president. Each answer is technically reasonable, and that is exactly why Booker refuses to accept any of them, because stacked together they add up to a man asking the Senate to simply trust that the obvious conflict won't matter. Booker dismantles the firewall with one yes or no question that the nominee cannot escape, getting him to admit that his personal compensation is in fact tied to the income his firm earns from the clients he represents. The moment that yes leaves his mouth, the "it goes to the firm, not me" defense collapses, because the firm's clients are precisely how he gets paid. Then Booker brings in the detail that only a senator from New Jersey would land with such relish, the well-documented reputation that Trump stiffs the firms that work for him, refusing or delaying payment. This flips the conflict into something even more corrosive than a simple debt, because now the nominee may be a creditor chasing money from the very man he would be asked to judge, which gives him a financial incentive to stay in the president's good graces. Booker widens the lens here from one nominee to a pattern, describing an administration where personal lawyers are scattered across the Justice Department, where a former personal attorney is accused of running a slush fund paying out people connected to the attack on the Capitol, and where financial ties to the president seem to reach from the courts to Middle East negotiations. He uses a blunt word, grifter, and frames the nominee not as a uniquely bad actor, but as one more example of loyalty being purchased and rewarded with public power. The nominee's counter, that he will resign his partnership and earn nothing going forward, is met by Booker with the line that titles the clip, that the issue is not the future but the past. You have already made money representing this president, and no future resignation erases the relationship that produced this nomination. The final movement is a deliberate pivot that catches the nominee off guard, and it reveals what Booker is really after, which is the question of character and candor rather than any single dollar figure. He raises a college article from 1997 titled "Married in the Eyes of God," in which the nominee argued against same-sex marriage and singled out the first same-sex wedding in Booker's home state, held in a Princeton chapel. The nominee retreats to the safest possible ground, calling the language harsh and unacceptable, and dismissing it as the view of a teenager. Booker does not argue about whether people can change. He argues about whether the question itself is fair to ask, and he does it with a deliberately jarring hypothetical, asking whether, if someone had once written, "I hate black people," it would be legitimate to want to know their views today. It is a rhetorical move designed to strip away the comfort of calling old beliefs irrelevant, forcing the room to admit that a nominee's record of how they regard entire groups of people is exactly the kind of thing a lifetime appointment should be tested against. Booker closes by turning to the chairman and converting his frustration into a formal demand that the committee obtain the full picture of the nominee's financial entanglements before any vote, calling it unconscionable that the Senate keeps confirming people bound to the president by money. His parting request that his written questions be answered candidly and in detail is the quiet tell that, for him, the hearing did not resolve the conflict. It simply exposed it.